This is a subject that there's been confusion on also. When we talk about the word tribe, a lot of people have used the word clan, and then they thought they could go into the court, and they thought that something was going to change if they used the word, oh, my clan name is this, or my family name is this. That was very, very common as because it was due to, again, lack of knowledge. So we're going to deal with the word tribe, and we have to look at it from the aspect of the system that we're surrounded with today. Um, how does the legal world of basically these secular state governments view what we call a tribe? Well, this is the interesting thing, how a lot of native peoples have been tricked, beguiled, because they've now taken on status under these governments based on the fact they're getting benefits and privileges that other people don't get within the same system. And so therefore they've accepted something, as we talked about in the Lord's Prayer. Did you forgive, or are you actually taking legal compensation through benefits and privileges, allowing the trespass upon you? So we're going to read, this is I don't know how many people would have access to this book. It's called The Law Among Nations. It is a Canadian published book that's dealing about how nations basically conduct their activities amongst each other. But it was dealing with a part in one of the chapters, the Community of Nations, which we were talking about more around the UN idea, the collective amount of the, I'll just call them the Gentile nations. The category subject matter is status of tribes, and this was what came out of this paragraph. It says tribes in North America and elsewhere were at one time held by a few writers to be equivalent to international persons. They're talking about being recognized as legal persons within the legal system of nations. States, on the other hand, usually denied such status to tribes, and agreements made with them were subsequently often and quite unfairly denied the character of binding treaties, regardless of the nomenclature applied to the original agreement at the time of its conclusion. Tribes do not constitute members of the community of nations. Now, we have to really look at that now. Now, does it make sense why they violated all those treaties that they made? Because they weren't binding. Because the tribes were never legal. Now, Jesus came from the tribe of Judah. That's where the kingly bloodline was. And him being the final king has nothing to do with the legal nation of Israel today. He is of spiritual New Jerusalem above, heavenly New Jerusalem, God's kingdom. And so he is of the tribe of Judah, which started with King David. And therefore, both Mary and Joseph came from the tribe of Judah, and Jesus was of that tribe for the reason to note that it was coming through the kingly tribe. Now, when he said, my kingdom is not of this world, what do you think he meant? He was talking to a Roman civil society at the time. He talked to Pontius, who was a legal authority for the Roman civil government, and he told him, my kingdom is not of this world. So it's not of the world, not the material world, not the civil legal world that we are surrounded with even today. Therefore, Christians could not be of the world. They're no part of it. Because you couldn't be, because your Christian name represents the tribe of Judah. That's the kingly tribe. So when you're saying Christian, it means you belong to Jesus Christ. And that means that's of that tribe. Therefore, it has no legal status. It has no agreement with the legal world of men. And therefore, there is no binding agreement whatsoever. What you're doing is you're deceived into entering into their legal system by your own consent. And you're actually making an unholy joinder with them. You're unequally yoked with pagan heathen unbelievers. When are you going to wake up to what's happening? So if you belong to an organized, legal Christian movement, you've been deceived, because they are part of the world and they have legal persona status. And that's why the government could tell them to close down, because they are not basically under the sovereignty and immunity of those that are part of God's people.